Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. That's right. This is your weekly look at Southland soccer in an hour. This is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. No, it's not Philly. He's on assignment over at the TST, and we'll talk about that quite a bit later. But you know my voice. It's the Scarf, your friendly neighborhood Scarf. J.R. Liebert here, along with my buddy Tim, and we are set to take you all the way through all the soccer in the Southland. Tim, how are you, my friend?
Dude, JR, the Scarf Man, it's good to be hanging out with you. I know that we're pre-recording Wednesday night, but it's going to be a ripper of a show. We've got a great interview with Orange County midfielder Chris Hegardt, and he is a good dude, JR. We had a great time. Me and Gunnar had a great time on that interview, buddy.
Yeah, incredible interview there with Chris. We can't wait to share that with you all later. And again, so much to talk about. Huge news for LAFC and Galaxy this week, although definitely on different sides of the spectrum. We will hit, of course, Empire Strykers, Angel City, and in addition to the interview, we will talk a little bit about Orange County Soccer Club. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on in the world of soccer, and this is the best time of the season. All the European soccer is over, so we get to focus on the soccer here in the Southland, and we could not be more excited to do it with you. Tim, I got to say, looking at all the different matches and all the different things in Europe, what was your favorite one before we head to our first read?
Oh, I think the fact that the Strikers put in could we be signing Cristiano Ronaldo, and then he buries one to put Portugal through to the final.
There you go. Look, it could be silly season at Toyota Arena with potentially CR7 coming on over. Look, we got to pay some bills, and the first one we do is, of course, our good friends at National Core. National Core, one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, please head to nationalcore.org. That's nationalcore.org. All right. So looks like we are headed into the world of LAFC. And as we do, even though you and I are going to be here and the ones to talk about all the LAFC stuff, we want to bring in our buddy who normally covers the Galaxy for the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast and a good friend of both of ours, Rob Jalon. How are you, my friend?
Good, JR. Tim, thank you guys for having me back. Reporting here for the Sporting Trib, and that's the Sporting Tribune and Lacuna Galaxiana, and you know it's impossible to kind of ignore the magnitude of such a match that happened down the 110. So glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you on. Of course, the magnitude of the match that Rob is talking about is the spot in the Club World Cup that Los Angeles Football Club was able to secure with an electric victory over none other than Liga MX giants Club America. It was an insane atmosphere at BMO Stadium. And of course, the almost $10 million goal scored by none other than Denis Bouanga. I've got to ask the two of you, and I'll start first with Tim. It was an incredible night at BMO Stadium. Where were you while the game was going on? Were you watching, and what was your take on the incredible result?
Yeah, I was watching on TV at my house, and it was I could feel the electricity coming through the TV. It's like when you first had fans come back after COVID, stuff like that. Just the feeling of electricity through the TV was palpable. The fact that they were lighting off flares and smoke bombs and grenades and cheering and chanting, and it was 55% Club America and 45% LAFC. It was magic to be watching that thing on TV, and I could only imagine what it was like in the arena.
Tim, I can tell you, I don't think it was 55-45. I think it might have even been a little closer to 70-30 at the start of that thing. I have never been to a road match in our own stadium like that before. That was incredible. La Monumental and all the other supporters for Club America, they were on fire at the start of the match. Rob, I have to ask, of course, you cover the Galaxy on a very regular basis. Is it hate watching? Is it curiosity? Is it just anticipation of what could happen? What's the mindset of someone who has the Galaxy pod to worry about while they're watching a match like that?
Oh no, it's undoubtedly a mixture of a couple of things. It's on one side, like you said, curiosity. Will LAFC be able to pull off this quasi upset, because everybody expected Club America to go ahead and take care of business, especially with the fact that Steve Cherundolo has taken his team to a couple of finals or big matches and not been able to get it done. So there was that specter hanging over them as well. So there was that specter of curiosity for me, and also you asked, where were you guys when everything was going down? I mean, I was at the digs covering the Galaxy match, but by this point, by the point it went to the 88th minute and Igor Jesus is getting that header to give it LAFC life, we're starting to make our way down to the press conference, and then from there it's extra time, and we're literally in the press conference and watching that match at the same time, because it's that's how big that match is. But yeah, no, it was definitely curiosity, but also it raises the profile of the league. I mean, I may get flagged from some Galaxy fans, but I mean, hopefully that raises the profile of the league, and that allows for bigger players to come in. I know certainly that there's a transfer window that's going to allow for some new players to come in.
Yeah, the nice part is that transfer window open not just for the three clubs, Inter Miami, Seattle, and of course LAFC, but for all clubs in MLS, which is kind of neat. So they can bring in players during this 10-day transfer window, June 1st to June 10th. Look, let's talk about the match real quick. A very tense first half, nothing at the half, and both sides kind of not wanting to give away maybe their best attack. LAFC had a couple of moments, not a lot for Club America, if I'm being honest, but all it takes is one moment, and it was that one moment in a hurry with Mark Delgado, of all players, committing a foul in the box, which leads to, and the groan was palpable from the black and gold faithful, Brian Rodriguez, out of everybody who could have stepped up for that PK, the former LAFC striker, burying one. Look, Hugo Lloris, it's never on him on a PK, right? It's always 50-50, but Tim, having to watch Brian Rodriguez put Club America up, it was reminiscent of our match against Tigres and our match against León. Rob kind of touched on it. We're thinking we can't do it again. LAFC is going to fall short again to a Liga MX club, Tim.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a death by 1,000 knives. It's a little bit of Harry Carey on this one. I mean, just a knife right through the heart all the way through, and it is painful, but you're happy for him, right? At a certain level, you're not happy that you're down 1-0. But yeah, that one, they were going to do that too as soon as that PK. I mean, there was nobody on the pitch that was going to take that shot except for him.
Yeah. And then look, luckily the LAFC gets one late off the foot of Denis Bouanga, a beautiful corner kick that finds the head of Igor Jesus. By the way, heck of a time to score your first goal in black and gold for our mercurially talented midfielder in Igor Jesus. And then, of course, you mentioned it, Rob, you were just getting started or just finishing up maybe the press conference at that time. The second latest goal in LAFC's club history, 115th minute. That Gareth Bale guy scored one pretty late a couple of seasons ago.
I know him.
But 115th minute, Denis Bouanga putting LAFC in the Club World Cup. An incredible goal.
Big money.
You said you guys were watching it in the clubhouse, or you guys were watching it at the press conference?
Yeah, I mean, it was on silent, but it was definitely on during the press conference. And, when we were waiting for players or Greg. I mean, again, you just like to see good soccer or high stakes matches, and this one definitely had it all. I mean, it had atmosphere, even atmosphere the night before. I mean, Club America matches fans came out in full force in downtown LA with all the cohetes and fireworks and stuff like that. You love to see these kinds of spectacles. It grows the game, like I said.
Yeah, and look, anytime you get to play a match that counts against Chelsea, a match that counts against Flamengo, and a match that counts against Tunisian side Esperance or ES Tunis, I mean, look, it pinch me as an LAFC supporter right now that we are going to be on the pitch against Chelsea, and it's all happening here in the United States. I actually kind of wish it might have been overseas so that maybe some more of those European fans or some more of those South American fans could give a little bit of love to MLS, you know, if we play well, and obviously Seattle and Miami. But such an incredible setup now for LAFC, but they can't look too far ahead. They've got 2 matches before the Club World Cup, including a home date against Sporting Kansas City, Sunday, June 8th at 6 p.m. Real quick, Tim, what do you think? Is LAFC, with these 2 matches going ahead before the Club World Cup, are they going to overlook these 2 matches? Is it just get out of there without injury? What needs to happen in these last 2 before the Club World Cup?
I think they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to come out firing, because Chelsea is no joke. I mean, it may be the end of the season for Chelsea, but these guys are fit as a fiddle. And if LAFC isn't on their toes early, it might be a quick one for LAFC, especially against a Chelsea team that has played their run of form over the last several weeks, has been very good. And LAFC better be ready. I don't think it's just hey, let's get to the Club World Cup and collect our $10 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've highlighted LAFC, but we are going to look ahead real quick to the Galaxy as well. You mentioned it, Rob, both sides of the spectrum in terms of the energy. LAFC picking up a win that gets them into the Club World Cup, but a massive win for the Los Angeles Galaxy to kind of get them off the schneid for the season, right?
I mean, yes and no. It's you know, I've been told I've been a Scrooge about the whole thing for the past couple of weeks, and it's hard to get excited about your first win after 16 matches. These are the defending champions, and they just haven't played like it. So yes, while it's important to get the 3 points, it was good to get the win. You know, what are we really celebrating here? It's this one win at your midpoint of the season. Hopefully it's something to build on. And Tim and I discussed this a couple of days ago on Laguna Galaxiana. But I mean, it's at this point now where the standards have dropped so low where you're saying, hey, a win is great, yay. I mean, here's what I will say is that the fans have stuck with this team through every single bit of it, and the pop, the sense of relief was just big at the digs after the game. I mean, it was probably on par with MLS Cup in terms of the pop at full time. It was just like the sense of relief, and I don't mean it. I mean, JR might be taking it kind of like in kind of like a shade kind of way, but I mean it in a good way, because it was like that sense of relief. They were with this team every step of the way, and it hurt so much that when that final whistle finally came, 3 points finally came, the fans celebrated with the players just every bit as much.
Yeah, listen, Rob's a tough crowd. I want to read his note exactly as he sent it to us. A first win, but not an amazing performance. Our producer Gunnar thinks that was actually a pretty good performance. Curious to think what you guys both think about this performance. But by the way, Rob, you won a match. It's okay. You can be happy about it now. It's all right.
No, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm so like, I got to write a different headline, and it was fantastic.
Right.
I mean, you know how upset it makes me, like, when I go to a match and then I go to the press conference and then I come home and I have to file a story, and there's me at 1 in the a.m. writing the same headline again. Galaxy still win this in 13. Galaxy still win this in 14. Galaxy dropped a match by not allowing a shot on goal. I mean, come on, son. Everything has happened to this team, and like, yes, sometimes, like, I've gone through all the stages. I've gone through, acceptance, denial, bargaining. Like, okay, well, like, are we going to get somebody in the transfer window? Like, what could happen? Like, it's just kind of like, it shouldn't be happening to this team. I think Herculez Gomez said something about like, this is the worst Galaxy team I've ever seen. I don't think it is. I think this team has a lot of quality, and you know what? You see this team play up to standard at times. The problem is that they haven't put those 90-minute performances together consistently. I mean, and I have to disagree, Gunnar, I love you, but I don't think they played a fantastic game. I think they played a decent game, but as Tim pointed out the other night, they did allow 20 shots. Of course, 9 of those were blocked by the Galaxy defense, but that's still 11. I mean, too many shots on goal. RSL hit the post 2 times, and this is an RSL team that isn't having a great moment themselves. So, yes, it's a win. It's not. They didn't have a great performance. It wasn't over a great team, but they have shown moments against good teams that they can play, and they, with the exception of New York, they haven't really been out of it in any single game. I think St. Louis as well, which was 3-0, but other than that, I mean, they've hung. Now, hopefully, like I said, they build on this. They can go, oh, that's what it's like to win. I remember that, and they can kick on, right?
Right. You and I, Rob, talked about it the other night, and Philly and I talked about it over the past few weeks, that it's the performance that the Galaxy had against LAFC, the 2-2 tie, that could have easily have been their very first win, which would have just put JR and Philly into a tailspin, which would have been fun to watch. But
right.
The fact that, we talked about it the other night, I think the Galaxy were very opportunistic. I think when they had a chance to put the ball in the back of the net, they did. And within the first 3 minutes, Gozo had a chance, and Mitrovic had an incredible save. And JR, Rob and I talked about this. I think that turned the tide of the game. And Absolutely. It's very rare that a game turns the tide 3 minutes in, because 20 seconds later, the Galaxy had a great opportunity, had a really good scoring chance, and almost put it up 1-0 them. But if Novak doesn't make that save, it's 1-0, 3 minutes in. The Galaxy are in a world of hurt, and they lose that game 3-0.
Yeah, and Rob, it's the newer guys, right, that have started to really step up. Nascimento, Lucas Sanabria making team of the week for you guys, really helping out now in the midfield, playing a lot better. Curious, do you have any update on one of their biggest names players who's been out for Royce, out with an injury? Any update on what's going on with Marco Royce's injury?
Yeah, it's a thigh, and it's funny. He mentioned it the game before he got injured. He said, I just played my 3rd game in a week. I'm not really used to that anymore. And the next game he comes out and he comes off and gets injured. But Greg did mention that after the break he should be good. Everybody should be ready to go. They don't think it's going to be long term. Lucas as well. I mean, he came off, I believe at halftime. I think it was at halftime, and Greg said that he noticed him limping a little bit. It was more precautionary than anything.
Yeah, and the one bummer about all of this is that you guys don't even get the chance to respond the very next week, right? Because you guys are off for this next match day. You don't play again until, I believe, the 14th, and you're going to St. Louis. So you can't really build on this momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I mean, it allows the players to rest. They have that taste of victory in their mouths right now, and they get to kind of sit with that for a little bit. They get to go have that good feeling. Greg gets to train with this team. He has basically his full roster with him. So yes, it's kind of tough not to be able to go ahead and keep that momentum going in your next match. But the way the season is going for the Galaxy, who knows if that's what would have happened. I mean, we've seen them, beat Herediano 4-1 and then, come out in the league a couple of days later and not get a result that they were expecting. So, I mean, I'm okay with this. Let them get healthy all the way. Let Royce get healthy. I mean, he was starting to play really decent soccer. I mean, a couple of goal involvements in the 5 matches that before he got injured. So I'm all right with it.
Cool. Hey,
Look,
JR,
what
do we got next, man? We got to pay some bills?
We're trying to get Rob to say something positive, but now you bring up bills. There's no way that Rob's going to talk about anything positive about this Galaxy. But yes, we do have to pay some bills, especially with our good friends over at
It was a pleasure, guys.
Rob will be back. Rob will be back later. Don't worry. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans in partnership with the Strikers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Hop aboard Omnitrans for a seamless journey. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strikers. Ride with Omnitrans to the game. Look, we tried to get Rob to talk about a bunch of positive stuff about the Galaxy, but I know that's something you and I are really excited about. We mentioned at the very top, it is my voice instead of Christian Philemon's. Philly is normally here in this seat, but he is on assignment in Cary at TST with a ton of Empire Strykers and a ton of big names out there. This is the indoor tournament of the year. And Tim, how much fun has it been so far?
It's just been incredible so far. We've seen some really big names kind of flaming out already. AFC Bournemouth kind of flaming out. They've got a bunch of guys from the team. You see Wrexham, the Red Dragons, that also has a bunch of really good guys, and they are 2-0. We're seeing a bunch of like Marco Fabian is playing great. Justin Stinson is playing really well. Both of their teams are doing great. And it's really, really a fun time. And I even caught a couple of the games that Philly was doing the play-by-play guy. And man, there is no person, not that I've heard lately, that is better prepared than Philly. I mean, everybody saw his Instagram post. He's got 35 pages of notes, man. It was incredible.
No, look, there's nobody, maybe other than myself as a middle school teacher, that likes doing the homework as much as Philly does. And look, all he did on opening night, and by the way, again, we are pre-recording this on Wednesday, so a lot of you may be listening to this on Thursday with matches having gone on the second night, but all he had to do on opening night was call 7 matches in the TST. And again, what this is, it's a 7-on-7 tournament. Winner gets $1 million to split between their team. It is a massive deal. The last 2 winners, Newtown Pride and La Bombonera, are chock full of MASL athletes. We mentioned it. You mentioned Marco Fabian. He's playing with Boca Dallas men's. Justin Stinson, it's got to be the coolest thing, Tim, as he kind of came up through the West Ham system, like in the academy, way back in the start of his career. And now he's playing for West Ham's TST team, scoring a goal on opening night. I mean, the pinch me feelings that we must be getting from Justin Stinson are electric.
And I think it's fantastic to see something like that, to see West Ham coming out, reaching out to him, having him come full circle, perhaps, coming back to West Ham, playing, and then putting the biscuit in the basket is in the very first game. How cool is that got to be? I mean, you just like you watch that and you're like, okay, this is the way soccer should be. This is the way soccer is really, really fun. It's why we watch the game. You want that excitement. You want your team to do well. You want certain players to do well. But just to watch Justin and then him celebrating afterwards with his teammates, it was a sight to be seen.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to give Philly his full credit. I said 7. Apparently, he was scheduled for 8 matches on the first day. Absolutely unbelievable. Justin Stinson with the big goal. Marco Fabian played in a couple of really big matches today as Boca Dallas men's wins their first match 5-0. But in an old coach versus new coach matchup, Newtown Pride, which of course Coach Onua Obasi led to victory in the first TST, defeats Boca Dallas. Marco Fabian picking up an assist. It's got to be weird for Marco playing on one side, hearing your coach's voice coming from the other bench. I've never experienced, I mean, look, I'm not a professional soccer player. There's news right there. But I've never experienced anything like that. And of course, Tim, one of the biggest names, one of the biggest draws, Pat McAfee, who, of course, of the Pat McAfee Show and a huge social media following. They've got Conkefa FC there with 2. They're now up to a 2-0 start. They have a 5-0 win in their second game. They're looking absolutely incredible. It's just so much fun to see all these big names from all around the soccer world and beyond.
Yeah, what I find the neatest thing about this tournament is that it's fast. It's 20-minute halves. You've got the target scoring, the target scoring at the end, target score time at the end. That's what makes it just really, really fascinating to me, is that when you are up 4-3 at the end of regulation, game's not over. And there were multiple games where the team that was down came back and won today.
Yep.
That's one of the funnest things ever. And could we see that in a local arena near you? Maybe. I think it would be a good little play. It would bring the excitement. It would bring some really good action, even more so to the indoor game. But I think with this 7-on-7 format, you've got guys running on and off the field. Everybody's getting a ton of playing time, and you have huge names, Olympians, gold medalists, professional guys coming over from Europe at the highest level of soccer, playing on a 7v7 in front of all these just wild and crazy fans in Cary, North Carolina. It's giving me goosebumps just talking about it, JR.
And my favorite part is you mentioned big names. What about, I don't know, Borussia Dortmund? People have heard of Borussia Dortmund. Turns out they've lost their first 2 matches to clubs called Freedom United and the Drunken Monkeys. The Drunken Monkeys have taken down Borussia Dortmund. Where else but the TST? Where else but indoor soccer or football rapido or whatever beautiful version of this game that we are playing out there? The Drunken Monkeys defeating Borussia Dortmund. I mean, it's just incredible. Look, you mentioned it. MASL legend Frank Tayu is scoring goals there. The Atomic Ant Sebastian Giovinco returning stateside for Quick Goal FC. And look, I'm a huge Azzurri fan, so it's nice to see Giuseppe Rossi scoring goals. Everybody and anybody, whoever you are, you can find a team, you can find a player, and more importantly, you can go find Philly calling all these matches, and you can get behind a team, a player, just something. It has been an incredible first night. And again, we're pre-recording this, so 2 nights have happened. So Philly's probably called, 10, 12, 16 games by now. But it's been incredible. Tons of Empire Strikers playing in the match. And look, there's also a women's side to it. We're going to bring in Nina in just a little bit to talk about Angel City. But again, so many things to talk about with this TST, and we will be covering that over the next couple of weeks.
Yep. And with that, let's bring in our resident expert on all things Angel City, Nina Keeper. How are you, Nina K? No relation?
What's up, Timmy K? No relation. I'm doing good. It is a fun night here. You know, as JR and you have been talking, TST has started, but there is a women's side to this tournament. It's not as expansive as the men's side, but the prize pot is still the same. And of course, you know, Angel City had to get in on the mix. The entire tournament is held at Wake Med, which is where NC Courage play. So I absolutely love this. I love that the women get their moment in the spotlight. And with that, you know, Lauren Sesselman on the team for Angel City, obviously friend of the podcast, friend of the show. She's been on here before. And, you know, Jay, you've sat next to her in hosting capacities before as well. Remind me, what did you compare her Olympic career to?
Oh, my AYSO U7 career. Clearly they match up like for like. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That was a proud moment for me, sitting next to an Olympian and a professional athlete, being asked to dissect the same game that she's looking at, that she sees like the Matrix, and I see like I'm sitting next to Keanu Reeves watching the Matrix.
So,
but look, no, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's an exciting time for Angel City FC right now, right?
Absolutely. So none of the stars, obviously, none of the starting players that are on the roster are able to go to this tournament. It's happening in the middle of the season. I've seen so many comments and they're like, why isn't Christian Press starting? I'm like, she's on the team. This is the sevens team. This is a different thing. But nonetheless, it is a star-studded cast, and it is being coached by Saskia Weber. As you guys have mentioned, we are pre-recording this, but they do play starting tomorrow, which is today for all of you listening. 6-5, they have their first game at 6:15 Eastern, which is 3:15 in the afternoon. And then they'll play their second match on 6/6 at 10:15 a.m., which means you can catch it before work at 7:15 a.m. Both are set to be amazing and fun games. I'm really excited. After that, hopefully we can get out of the group stages and make it onto the finals, I think they've got a good shot.
Yeah, how many women's teams are in that side of the bracket? Do you know? Is it 16 teams?
I thought they expanded to 32.
32.
Really?
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
All
which
right.
is a
Well,
pretty
I don't
solid
mean to
cast.
put you on the spot. Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but yes, Angel City has to be one of the favorites going into that. It's also a new era in a very different way for Angel City, obviously, with Alex Strauss coming over. Look, a long history with
Sorry,
Bayern
you were
Munich.
right. 16.
16.
16
Okay.
on the women's side. You were right.
Yeah, but look, the Alex Strauss era beginning in just a couple of days as Angel City gets set to play over the weekend. Your thoughts on this is a huge name in the world of coaching. I don't care, men's, women's side, whatever. Very few coaches come over with the pedigree of Alex Strauss.
Yeah, so we've talked about him briefly before, but just to remind everyone, elite coaching experience, back-to-back Bundesliga titles. He's also coached Norway's U23 and U19 women's teams. He has got the pedigree and the ability to develop players from a young age through their career, which is, I think, why he is such a tremendous fit for Angel City, who we know, while we have a lot of veteran players, we also have a lot of very, very young players. So his ability and experience at coaching at that level, I think, is going to serve us for a very long time. Now, with that, looking ahead to this game, I don't think there's a better one that he could have started out on. Because no offense to Chicago, and no offense to, Alyssa Nair, who will be in goal, or your girl, Carrie Riccaro, who will be out there on defense. Chicago's sitting in last place. Like, just straight up.
those are the bottom feeders of the NWSL right now. We're talking, 4 points, I believe, through their first 10 matches or so. It has been a rough go of it. Look,
Yep.
Tim, Angel City brings over a guy who not just back-to-back Frauen Bundesliga titles, but a treble this last year, winning the DFB Pokal, the Super Cup, and the Frauen Bundesliga. Dude's only 49 years old, and he's already cemented himself as one of the best coaches in the game. Your thoughts on a new era starting? And now, by the way, this new era starting 11 matches. What will be 11 matches in to the NWSL season?
Well, as you well know, JR, me, Nina, Philly, we were just killing at Angel City at the start of the season. They didn't have a coach every week. We're like, hey, they don't have a coach. And then, we've had Parsons on the show before, and he was great. And we asked him about that, and he said he was going to find the best coach possible. Well, I tell you what, they could not have picked, I believe, a better coach. They vetted him. They taught, Parsons talked to his coaching staff, and Gunnar was at the presser, and he talked to Alex for 15, 20 minutes after it and said he was one of the nicest guys around. And that's what Angel City needed. They needed a gigantic name because, as everybody well knows, you've got 500 million different things to do here in LA. And so you better have a big name to make sure that people are getting cheeks and seats. And I think, and Nina, I'm sure you agree with me, I think they did an amazing job on bringing him in.
Yeah, it's definitely hands down one of the best decisions I think they've ever made as a franchise. Looking ahead, like we said, the lineup, the matchup against Chicago Stars hasn't been always great. We've won 3, they've won 2, there's been 1 draw. But as JR points out, Chicago Stars this season have only 4 points. They have 1 win, 1 draw, 8 losses. I'm really hoping this allows him to start his NWSL career with a win. Let's not jinx it, but Angel City have scored 10 goals in their last 5 matches, whereas Chicago have only scored 3. So I'm feeling pretty confident, but I think last time I felt this confident, I said, yeah, we're going to win 2-0, and it was 3-0 against us. So I'm going to keep my mouth to myself on that one.
Yeah, look, they've had a lot of players playing, though, over this international break. We talked about how 8 Angel City players were called in to different national teams. But something that might be a little troubling is before she even got her camp started, really, with the U.S. women's national team, Giselle Thompson coming back home with a minor hip injury. Look, Alyssa has been electric for the U.S. women's national team over these 2 matches. I think she's basically in credit for 3 goal creations out of the 7 goals that they scored. But this Giselle Thompson injury, I'm wondering how that has you feeling, Nina, as as they get set to really press forward and cement that playoff spot. Maybe not having Giselle Thompson for a few matches.
It makes me nervous for sure, because I think that her chemistry with the team is really clicking and we need that strong defensive line. But as we talk about a strong defensive line, Angel City made another signing to help with that, I guess, maybe kind of sort of. I guess the role of keeper is up for grabs now because Hannah Siebert is coming in. As soon as she gets her international transfer certificate, she's going to end up at Angel City as a keeper. And she was the captain of her team. So that says a lot about her and her abilities. And I'm thinking that we might not have a starting keeper much longer with this signing.
Yeah, Tim, a massive signing out of Sporting CP in Portugal, which is just a huge club down there. But she's a SoCal native, right? Went to Pepperdine out of Riverside. All she did, by the way, when she was in Portugal, 3-time goalkeeper of the year, a handful of trophies before that in Denmark and Norway. And her contract is up June 30th. She comes over, and Hannah Siebert potentially now taking minutes away from Angel City in goal.
Yeah,
I think this is what a coach like Alex brings. I think he can bring in that super high end talent. That while LA is a great place to play, great place to live, I think it's now a great place to play soccer under Alex. I think it's a great signing. I think it's going to be incredible for the team.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how much more we talk about her and the rest of the cast at Angel City. Nina, thank you so much for joining us here on this one. We're going to head on over and talk about all things Orange County Soccer Club now. And again, an incredible interview with midfielder Chris Hegardt. I know, Tim, you and Gunnar were really excited to do this interview. He was absolutely incredible. Why don't we go to the interview now, and then you and I can talk all things Chris Hegardt. Here's Chris.
Even though our guest met Lionel Messi while battling cancer as a child, and then again when he was himself a pro soccer player, that won't be our main focus today because there's so much more to him. Growing up, he was part of the LA Galaxy and Seattle Sounders youth systems. In addition to playing for Georgetown University and MLS's Charlotte FC, he had stints with several USL and MLS Next Pro teams, as well as with Norway's Stabæk. Now, he seems to have found a home with Orange County SC. At 23, he is a key contributor and one of the exciting young stars of the USL Championship. We're so excited to have with us midfielder Chris Hegardt. Chris, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited for the interview.
Yeah, likewise. Let's dive into it. First of all, you being from San Diego, I want to ask you what it's like to now have settled so close to home. Are you enjoying being near friends and family? If so, did that factor into your decision to make your loan permanent and sign outright with OCSC in January?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it is crazy. I've like you said, I've been away from home now for I think since I was 15, when I went up to Seattle. So when the opportunity came when I was in Norway to come back to Orange County on loan, it was a no-brainer. And, just to be able to be so close to friends and family and play in front of them every week is a dream come true right now. So, I'm very happy with where I am right now and the ability to be able to play for Orange County.
Do they come out to your games?
Yeah, of course. They
you got the whole family there.
Yeah. Whenever they're in town, they'll always come out. But yeah, it's a bit different than the first few years of my pro career. I was playing in the East Coast and then in Europe, so It was never really had friends and families in the stands. My parents would try to come to a lot of games, but it's difficult when it's a 6-hour flight. So
of course,
so, yeah.
Now that we've talked about being near friends and family, we should also talk about that time. You talked about East Coast, but that time when you did the complete opposite of being near family and friends. Just last year, you signed with Stabæk in Norway, Bob Bradley's old club, for those who don't know. And you played in several games with them at 22 years old. That is a move that will definitely take you out of your comfort zone. Talk a little bit about your experience over there, maybe on the field and off the field. And in hindsight, would you do it again?
Yeah, great question. It was a really interesting move for me, because I came out of contract at Charlotte FC and MLS, and I kind of wanted to try something new and a new opportunity. And yeah, ultimately the offer with Stabæk came up, and Michael Bradley and Bob Bradley were the coaches over there. So it was a very, very interesting opportunity for me, and yeah, I think it was a no-brainer, and I took it. And the way of life and everything is very different in Europe. It's a lot more pressure. The fans are very, very on you. I think in the US, the fans are, more there for like the party and to hang out. But in Europe, it's like, that's their life. So there was a lot more pressure, but the overall experience of being there was awesome. And I think I learned a lot on the field, from Michael and Bob. They're both very great coaches, and they played at the highest levels. Michael's played at the highest level. So just to learn from them every day was awesome. And, living in Oslo was also it's kind of an eye opener, that like the public transportation, that's all you use. So, from growing up in the West Coast where you're driving everywhere to, having to take the bus to go get a coffee in the morning is a lot different. So I think I took the opportunity and it helped me grow in a lot of ways.
Yeah, public transportation everywhere, but Southern California is a completely different concept, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a different way of life over there. But it's a beautiful country, and if the opportunity came again, I would definitely be interested.
Oh, that's great. Well, hey, before we dive into the current campaign, let's travel back to 2024. Orange County basically seemed down and out late in the season, but then you guys went on a remarkable unbeaten run under then new head coach Danny Stone. If you don't mind, take us inside that stretch. What happened within the team when Coach Stone took over that allowed you guys to dominate and make the playoffs from basically an impossible position?
Yeah. I think, when I left Stabæk, I think it was towards the end of the summer. I got to Orange County, and the team was in a really tough situation. I think it was like bottom to last, or second to last, and there was a lot of injuries, and a lot of results weren't going the way. And then Danny came in, and I think the team just kind of looked at each other and just realized that we have so many good players in the locker room, and Danny kind of put us in a position for our best players and us to just come together and play our best. And then we kind of got on a little hot streak of just once you win 2 or 3 games, you start to believe again. So I think when I first got there, the first few weeks were kind of like rock bottom, and then we just started to tread slowly up. And then, I think we went on a 12-game like no lose streak, or no losses in the 12 games. So yeah, I think, like I said, like it was a combination of the players had so much quality, and also Danny brought in new tactics and kind of life into the group. So yeah, it was a really awesome to be part of that group.
Yeah. So let's fast forward. Let's move forward to 2025. Since the start of the new campaign, you just mentioned it, but Orange County has been on a bit of a hot and cold streak lately. Recently, you guys fell 3-0 to New Mexico, and then had an excellent 3-1 win over Colorado Springs, both at home, and then followed up this past weekend by a disappointing 3-2 loss at Monterey Bay. Do you have an explanation as for why the guys have had several strong performances, but you don't seem to be able to carry those over, to connect those dots like you did last season?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one to answer. I think, the team, there's a lot of new faces in the group. I think we lost, a few key players, a lot in the back line, and some in the midfield, some in the attack. So, I think it's a lot of new faces in the group. And I think it's just a combination of trying to put everything together. I think with this group, it's like we have some really good performances, and then, there's some games that we don't perform well. But I think as of late, even when we're losing, we're putting in pretty good performances. It's just not going our way. But the attitude in the group is very positive, and I feel like we're really going in a good way. So I think in the next few weeks, it should be on the upward trajectory, and the players are starting to click again. So let's see where we go, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, that's great. Nico Ben Alcazar said the same thing when he was on a few weeks ago. It was just a matter of just things clicking and keeping working.
For sure. I think, like you said, like when there's a new group as well, we lost a lot of key guys from last year. So I think it's just about, getting in the right rhythms and putting the players in the right positions to succeed. So it'll come soon.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a quick look at that Monterey Bay game. It was part of the Jägermeister Cup, which is a new tournament. You guys have been in a couple of tournaments over this year, both Jägermeister and the U.S. Open Cup. And Jägermeister features teams from the top 2 USL tiers. You guys had a really nice early goal, but then gave up the equalizer just before half, and then kept knocking on the door. But you gave up 2 second half goals before you got a late goal in injury time. Is it what you were just saying, that you guys are playing well and it's just coming together and it's just going to take another week or so to click?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at just one game, but I think, we went up 1-0 early away from home, in the Jägermeister Cup, and we were playing really well. And then I think we talked about it. We just gave up some soft goals that, are definitely easy fixes. So I think, especially in this league, you can't give up easy goals away from home, because playing away from home is very difficult. So I think it's just about, correcting the easy mistakes and going from there. But like I said, we have good players, so we'll figure it out sooner rather than later.
Perfect. All right. So let's get up to the next game. Phoenix Rising is your next match, and it's away. Again, you're in the streak of about 3 games away from the champ. If there is such a thing as a 6-pointer this early in the season, this would be it. You guys trail Phoenix by 3 points with a game in hand. Both teams are inside the playoff picture, but can't be feeling safe. With Phoenix riding a 3-game win streak in league play and a 4-game overall unbeaten in all competitions, what are you expecting from them? And what are you focusing on as you prep for them?
Yeah, I think, Phoenix is a really good side. I think they have a lot of good players. I'm familiar with their coach as well, because he was my assistant coach when I played in Charlotte. So, they're going to be a team that, has a lot of flair in the attack. They're very hard to play against, very aggressive. So I think we're ready. We know it's a big game away from home, and they're just sitting above us in the playoff line. So I think the boys will be ready, and it'll be a tough game. But like I said, we have so much quality, and, we'll be ready come Saturday night.
Nice. Now, kind of a hard transition, hard cut here. I said in the intro that you beating cancer as a child would not be a main topic. That said, I personally, this is something that's is sort of important to me. I lost my mom to cancer in my early 30s. And also I decided when I was at one point diagnosed with MS that I would be healthier and in better shape than 95% of people that don't have MS. So when I see someone that has dealt with something very difficult health-wise and then becomes a pro soccer player, that's truly an inspiration. So I just wanted to ask you, how frequently do you still get approached about that? And do you feel like you've been able to encourage some people and provide some hope to people?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it does come up a lot in a lot of the interviews I do, because it's you look at my name and it's ESPN did a huge documentary about me and the story. So I think it's pretty well known or well out there about my cancer history. And, like I said in the past, I don't really mind talking about it. It's not something I love to talk about, but I don't mind because, hopefully if I can inspire the next generation of kids that have cancer and they're struggling for hope, they can look at me as kind of a positive outlook of what you can do. But yeah, I think just the main message, I always say is just if you have a positive mentality and you have a good outlook, you can overcome anything. And that's kind of what I did when I had cancer. And, I just try to put that message out to other kids, and hopefully they can see my story and see what I'm doing and give them hope to keep fighting against it.
Mm-hmm. Certainly understandable that when it comes up a lot, you don't constantly want to talk about it, but I really appreciate you answering the question, just because I think it does make a difference. People hearing it and it makes a real difference in the real world. So really appreciate it. We really just have one more for you. And it's a simple one. Looking at where you guys are at in the standings, looking at how your season personally has gone, I wonder what would make a successful campaign for you when all is said and done, and you look back at the season. What has Chris Hegardt done? How many goals has he scored? How many tackles has he put in? How many shots has he blocked? And what happened to OC? Have they won the title? Have they made the playoffs? What would make a successful campaign for you?
Yeah. I think with the group we have so many talented players and a good coaching staff. So I really do think once we get in our groove, we can make a run for the title in the playoffs, because once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And we have the talent and the personnel to make that happen. So, I'd be not telling the truth if I didn't think we can make the finals. So I think we can make the finals and push for a championship. And on a personal level, I think just keep playing well. And, obviously, I've goals set for myself in terms of goals and assists, but ultimately just doing whatever I can to help the team win. And cause that's most important and just being there for the group and providing whatever they need from me. But like I said, we have so much talent. So hopefully we can put it together and get going soon.
Awesome. Well, we're certainly all rooting for you. Hopefully Orange County goes all the way. Hopefully you score 30 plus goals.
That's the dream, huh? Yeah.
Well, if it's up to us, that will all happen. But thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And this has been a blast. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Dude, what a great interview, JR. It was so much fun. Me and Gunnar had a great time with that one.
I mean, Chris was incredible. You mentioned, kind of off air, he was a little nervous at first. And I mean, you guys, such incredible questions. Great interview. Really great to get to know a player like that. He's just down the road, obviously, for Orange County Soccer Club, and a player that soccer fans in the Southland really need to get to know a player of his caliber better.
Yeah, and what I thought was really neat in the pre-show we talked about it is that he grew up being trained and coached by former Strykers coach Paul Wright because he was just on the road from San Diego. Really, really fun interview. Great dude. And one of the things that he said after the interview is like, "Hey guys, was I okay?" And we do have to give props to Gunnar a little bit. Chris did mention that the questions that we had were dialed in and that we did a lot of research. And when there's a guy like Chris on the team, it's easy to do the research on the guy because he's so fun to watch. And I had a lot of fun in the interview.
Yeah, look, though Orange County fell to Monterey Bay 3-2 in their last match, first goal of the match, Chris Hegardt had a ton to do with that, right? Made that first pass, and then the second pass over to Pedro. Is it Guimaraes? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly. The former LAFC Academy kid, gave him the lead, but unfortunately a lead that they would give up and lose 3-2.
Yep. And then they do take on Phoenix Rising this weekend. It is another road game. They're in their longest road stretch of the game. But they're going to go in and play a really good Phoenix Rising team, and it is a 6-pointer this weekend. So with that, catch the Orange County Soccer Club playing Phoenix Rising this weekend. They will be on ESPN Plus, so make sure you check your local listings and make sure you're watching that game.
Yeah, if you're not watching USL, the championship on ESPN Plus, you're missing out on a lot of great soccer down in Orange County. Look, one of my favorite segments on this show, Tim, it's what gives us some of the best debate, some of the most hottest criticism that we got going on here. It's time for LA's Best 11, and of course, it's time to bring back Rob and Mina. This is the fun part. Let me run down the best 11 just real quick here, and then we can begin to throw some mud. We got Novak Mitrovic in goal, of course, for his shutout performance, Rob. Shutout performance against Real Salt Lake, and that means they get a couple of defenders on there as well in Maya Yoshida and Mickey Yamane. Eddie Segura, who played excellent against Club America for LAFC. Midfielders Gabriel Peck and Lucas Sanabria. For the Galaxy, Igor Jesus for LAFC had to be on the team this week. And Cameron Dunbar for Orange County Soccer Club there in the midfield. And the forwards, Olivier Giroud, he gets on the team even though he doesn't score in this one. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Mateus Nascimento and Denny Bowanga. We got a ton of players on the bench. Let me know. First, let me start with Rob. Do we have enough Galaxy players on there for you? Is there anybody that you would switch out? What are you thinking about this best 11?
I'm okay with everyone except for Gabriel Peck probably. I mean, he still hasn't reached the heights that he did last year. Sure,
He had
played
an assist, didn't he?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a clean look. Even on Joseph Painsel's goal, there was an element of luck. That's what Tim's talking about, opportunistic. I mean, he plays in a decent pass, and really the defender stops him, but he gets a lucky bounce, so it shouldn't have been an assist, right? And if it's not an assist, then we're talking about something completely different this week. We're still talking about a winger duo for the Galaxy that's only scored 1 goal, but now we're talking about they scored 2 goals. JR's laughing because he's like, man, this guy's super negative on the Galaxy.
Okay.
Right?
I know.
Let's talk about Galaxy defense real quick. Galaxy defense. So Mitrovic only has 4 saves. Mickey Yamane, to me, is the one who held this down. 10 clearances, 8 of those were in the air, and I think that's very cool. But I also want to just throw out, before we run out of time here, probably my favorite stat on this best 11, and who I'm giving my little nod to, is going to be from OCSC, Cameron Dunbar, who was the most fouled player.
Yeah,
Listen,
I mean,
I
you talk
know
about
Rob,
the guy that gets hammered every game. Cameron Dunbar takes it on the chin every game, and man, that guy is tough as nails. Gets up every time. He's one of my favorite players to watch, just because he's such a tough dude.
Yeah, and I know Rob wants the goalpost on there for the Galaxy for defenders on this one, rather than maybe a couple of those guys on the back line. Look, I'm super excited to see Olivier Giroud on this best 11, because while a lot of what he did won't appear on the back of his top soccer card at the end of the season, it was one of those matches where he really performed well in the role that he was asked. A lot of hold-up play from that number 9 role, some good screens, some dummy balls, and a beautiful little last touch, even though I am convinced it wasn't a pass on purpose to Denis Bouanga. That was a streak of lightning barreling through on that last goal that you see Olivier kind of put his hands up and go, all right, I got nothing on this one. I'm going to let Denis get there. But happy to see Olivier Giroud out there as well. Again, this has been a wonderful episode. Thank you to Rob, Nina, of course, my co-host Tim on here as well. This has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. What an episode, and we will see you all back here next week to talk all